are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida.
Are you sure it's recording?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Oh my God, I can't even. It's gonna be way too much fun. Take 3. Deep breath in.
We're actually California Love.
California Love. I think we need to turn it back on.
Just run with it.
Deep breath.
Go.
Deep
just
breath
go.
in.
Yeah.
Deep breath out. In 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that really make you go, whoa. You guys, the first time in history, we've recorded 3 minutes without recording.
It was awesome.
And,
it was amazing.
And
the
realized
best 3 minutes
it.
of our lives.
So those 3 minutes we will never
Pretty
get
special.
back. Those are special, just between us.
They're very
no one
special.
else.
They will never get it back.
You
We
guys
will
won't
always
ever
have that.
Yeah, we will always have it. The room will have that.
That was great.
The room.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was great. It was meant to be. I feel super pumped right now after all that. This complete failure. I swear, after a year of doing this,
We
we're
just
still
confirmed
failing
you are
every day.
recording, though.
Yeah. For sure, we are now
Okay,
recording.
it's
There's
official.
nothing to fear.
Take 3.
Live.
You guys, let me introduce our guests today. We have Chad and Alison Paris, Principal CEO and COO of Parisleaf, a branding and web design agency right here in Gainesville, Florida, baby.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
Good morning.
I was saying in the previous 3 minutes that we didn't record that I almost invited my wife Shannon, because every time we get together we do pizza with the Parises.
That's great.
And it's always so much fun, but I just didn't think pizza at 8 a.m. was going to go too well.
That would be gross. Yeah, unless you had egg on that.
I don't know if it'd be
even
gross,
more
bro.
gross.
No, there's breakfast pizza.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
against
There's
it.
bagel bites. If
Bagel bites.
If pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime.
Thank you. Thank you for that shameless
Marketing.
plug.
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
Marketing. Segue. Let's get into marketing now that we're talking about bagel bites and jingles.
Sponsored by Bagel Bites.
Seriously.
How do we make that happen?
Mike,
know,
what's
right?
going on, dude? What's going on?
Not much,
It's
man.
now July, as
July.
Allison
It's July.
did not know in the previous 3 minutes.
We were also talking about how July, so for new scooters, the students are away.
Yep.
And that kind of, from a business standpoint, makes things a little womp around here. But it's good because we actually get to go from one side of town to the other, maybe see some things that you don't usually get to see. So that part's kind of like our silver lining. But so it's July.
I feel like I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah. I mean,
Deja vu.
I actually nailed that from the last time.
Well done.
It's good. Hone the message.
You guys, I'm never going to live this one down.
No,
Ronald's
never.
definitely not going to live
This
this
entire
one. He's not going to
episode.
let me live this down.
Yeah. And we're going to
Ever
make sure he
messes
does
up
it.
on a video recording. He's gonna, hey, remember that one podcast where you forgot to hit record?
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't go so well, did it? So, but you guys, well, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
I'm glad to finally be here.
I know, man. I'm
know.
excited
It's
to
about
have
time
you.
you invited us.
No.
That is such garbage. I have invited.
You have. There have
I
been
invited
multiple
you guys
invitations.
before, and Chad was like, "Yeah, dude, I have no idea what that is." And
I want to wait till
and
it blows up.
I want to wait until
I
I
don't wanna
make
be the one to
I want to
help
make
it
I want to wait until I make sure
Oh my
you
gosh.
actually have something going and it's gonna be worthwhile versus
Quit.
Allison's like quit.
So this is the validation
not
episode.
This is the validation episode. Yay.
I feel like a segue should come in.
Well, then and after there was, I think the validation did come much sooner, but then I was like, well, now I'm gonna wait till the couples episodes until those come back around, because for the month of July, did I already say this, or was that in the previous recording?
Yeah. The students are gone.
No, okay.
No, the
So
couples.
for the month
Okay.
of July, I don't know if you guys remember, this time last year, we did episodes where we had husband and wife duos come in and talk about working with each other, working in their business together, like the challenges, the good stuff, everything. Because the one thing I was saying was that my wife Shannon would never work with me. She's just like, no. I would never.
We talked about even trying to get her on the podcast with you for it. And did you ask her yet?
What?
If she would be on the podcast
If she
with you.
would come be on the podcast
Yeah,
as like
for the
a
couples.
guest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think she would do
No.
it. Yeah, I don't think she would do it. I mean,
One Valentine's Day podcast. Which
I would love to have
That would
her
be
on
pretty rad.
sometime, but I don't think she would do it.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
So.
she'd be taking your seat.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's fine. As it is, I'll have
That's why he
to be
suggested
Collin's
it.
work wife, which is fine anyway.
There you go.
So, well, anyway, last year it went over so well. We had such great feedback on it that now this July is actually the 1 year anniversary. There's 5 Mondays in July, so we're going to do 5 couples episodes as long as everything goes well with scheduling and everything
And recording.
everything else and
Of course,
recording.
there was
yeah.
that one time.
Exactly. But we're gonna do it, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get things kicked off with Chad and Alison Paris this morning.
Yes. Good morning.
You guys,
Good morning.
What up?
All right, so you've seen our format. Hopefully, have you at least watched one of these, Chad? Please.
I mean,
one, half of one.
I watched a promo video. No, I've watched one. Or 2. Maybe 5. Or I've been watching them all.
All right, good. So, I mean, you kind of know our format. So the way we like to start is kind of really getting into that origin story a little bit. I mean, as also a branding marketing person, like I love stories, right? I mean, that's what we do is we tell stories. And this has been such an honor really to dive into people's stories and really get into the origin. And now I know because we're such really good friends that I know your story pretty well, but I want the rest of Gainesville and the rest of the world to hear it through your eyes, and then we're gonna get into a whole bunch of questions, I'm sure. So give it to us.
Well, do you want the long version or the short version?
I want whatever version you want to tell me.
Because I think on the PDF you guys sent me, it said please don't drag on if your answers
well, I mean,
are
so
too
we
long.
have about 57 minutes since we didn't record the first 3
To
minutes.
hear the origin story.
So no, but I'll tell you if you're taking too long. I mean, if it's 45 minutes in and you've only gotten to age 3, then it's probably too long.
Cool. Yeah. So Parisleaf was started June of 2010, and it really came out.
Speak into the mic, bro. Into the microphone.
Test. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay. No, you're good.
It really came out of a desire to create an environment for Allison and I to have an opportunity to work together. I was working at another firm here in town, and I had lost my kind of partner in crime, my assistant that they hired for me. And I'd gone through a couple of them, just hadn't been able to find a good right hand to team up with. And so I asked the company if we could hire Allison as my assistant. And part of it was because I noticed we were just such a good team. I think we really grew up playing team sports, Allison playing softball, me playing soccer, and I think we both played a bunch of other things.
What position did you play in soccer? Let's get
everything.
to the important question.
Center mid. I was running
Really?
all over the place.
Oh,
yeah.
That's what my son plays.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
I am your son, Collin. Luke.
Hey, Schaefer can run a 5K in 20 minutes and 40 seconds.
I heard. Yeah.
He's 9 years old.
It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. Yeah.
That's amazing.
He clearly got his athletic skills from Shannon.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. Okay, sorry.
Anyway, so I asked my bosses at the time if they would hire my girlfriend at the time, and naturally they said absolutely not. And so I think that's where the idea kind of spawned from. We were like, wow, we're a really good team. We love working together every day. Whenever we would get into little spats and stuff like that, we would kind of remind each other whoa, same team. And then we just kind of high five it out, and then we would be good to go again. And I wanted that in my work environment. And as soon as my bosses said no, we were kind of walking around the village center in Hale Plantation. All of a sudden we were like, you know what? We could do this on our own. Why don't we go off and break off and start our own thing? And that was kind of the ripe age of 23 years old. And, at the time we had...
What year was that? You said 2010?
2010, yeah.
Okay.
So, the ripe... I mean, at that time you had all these really young startup entrepreneurs. You had B. Lokesh, you had Kristen Hadid, this guy Collin Austin.
He's pretty cool.
And, the guys over at Groove Shark, starting businesses at a really young age. And we thought, why not us, And so I love to say, Parisleaf is very much Gainesville inspired. I don't know if Parisleaf would exist if it weren't for, the atmosphere that's happening in Gainesville. So that's kind of the origin story. I don't know how much further along you want me to go.
Well, now we're going to get the truth from Allison.
Good call. I'll just sit back and drink my coffee.
That's fair.
Just sit back and drink your coffee.
I often often get that. I get that all the time, man. That's great. And that's why I'm like so glad she's here, because she often doesn't come out in public and speak up, but when she does, it's just brilliant. So
I know. Well, when we were testing the
cueing me
mics this
up.
morning, I was like, "Oh, that voice is so sultry." She's got that she got a great little radio voice over there, Allison. Like,
this is a husband and wife episode. You're gonna do this every single.
I know.
Come on, bud.
Dim the lights.
Yeah.
the lights with some little jazz music on in the background.
It's funny because last night I was envisioning like, oh, we're gonna be the first people to walk off set, like,
Oh man.
yeah, and strike one.
I mean,
Y'all can just keep cutting up the whole time. And
we're
I'll
only
just
like
sit over here.
10 minutes in. We got a little ways to
So
go.
the real story, Allison.
So the real story. I mean, Chad spoke really well. Our partnership is really special, and obviously we are married, and we started Parisleaf when we were just dating. Actually, we weren't even engaged, but really, what was driving us to create something together was this desire for a healthy work environment, and that kind of fueled and has continued to fuel everything we've done at Parisleaf. Neither one of us really came from a specifically creative background, although I'd argue we actually do both come from kind of tangential creative backgrounds. But we wanted to create something special where we could have that healthy partnership and team mentality in everything we do, and really look forward to coming into work every day. I come from an academic background, and the environment there is pretty cutthroat. And for me, it wasn't the type of lifestyle that I desired for myself or my family. And so, yes, at the ripe old age of 23, we felt inspired to start something and go out on a limb and try something new.
Were you working at that time?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so whose idea was it, though? I mean, did you kind of approach her about it, or did she approach you about it?
I think it was a combination of both of our ideas. We kind of had this epiphany moment at the same time and just started dreaming together. I don't know if it was one person's idea or the other.
I knew that Chad could never work for anyone but me, so
The truth I was asking for. Thank you very much. We knew we'd get there at some point.
Yeah. I saw the writing on the wall for sure. Just as in terms of, Chad comes from a very entrepreneurial family. Both of his parents owned their own businesses and were very successful. And, I saw that spirit in him, and I knew that my value add and kind of my part of that kind of relationship was balancing the, extroverted salesman type, compassionate, persuasive, exuberant personality with mine, where I'm very kind of logical and organized, and we could just kind of balance one another naturally in that way.
But don't let her sell herself short. She was starting businesses at like 9 years old. Beyond the lemonade stand, she was doing like Uber for babysitters at like at such a young age.
Yeah.
So she really came from a stronger entrepreneurial background than I did. So when the two of us kind of came together and just had this moment, it was just there was no stopping the freight train once the idea was planted.
Yeah.
Okay, so but the idea itself, to create a creative agency,
Sure.
Was that simply because of where you had been working? You're like, oh, I'm just going to go and do this better? Or why was it an agency at 23 years old? You're like, all right, we're going to do this.
So it actually wasn't an agency. If you remember going all the way back, the first time that you and I met, we were sitting down talking about paper printing. And that was what my background was in. So I
just thought that was another side hustle, bro.
No, that was Parisleaf.
Yeah, we started in printing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I had come from printing screen printed T-shirt operation out of another city that will not be named because it's Athens, Georgia. And so my background was in printing. I came over to another firm here in town. And they did a ton of printing, but it was on a bunch of different other mediums and things like that. And really fell in love with the power of paper printing. The fact that you can make a ton of impressions with very low cost, and then Allison kind of sprinkled her magic on top of it and really said, if we're going to do this, we should do it right and make sure that we're using business as an opportunity to, do good in the world and give back to the environment, because printing is just completely pillaging the environment. So that was the original plan. About 6 months in, that plan was failing miserably.
It wasn't failing, it was evolving.
It was failing miserably.
Everyone who needs print needs creative services, right? Because they generally were coming to us and saying, hey, I need business cards. And we're like, okay, send us over your files. They're like, well, I don't have any. Can you help me with that? So there was this natural entry into the creative side. And almost immediately we were helping service our clients and, their business card layout needs, postcards, et cetera, and that kind of very quickly evolved to us growing primarily creative team, and very quickly evolved into expanding our services to include websites and all of that. And as our clients kind of continued to have these needs, it was almost organic in that our team grew to service those needs. So that's how we got to where we are
How
today.
did you guys really start to define what the brand, like your brand, was going to look like? Because the one thing that I can say about Parisleaf from my perspective is that you've really gone into I don't want to say high end, like the presentation is super professional.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything about it is like super professional. And I've seen that evolution over 10 years, like in terms of the type of clients and stuff. And I mean, was that intentional, or was that also kind of evolutionary? Like these were, I guess what I'm asking is, like, did you guys intentionally go out and say, like, these are the kind of clients that we want to work with? Or did they just gravitate towards you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the size of the projects kept growing, and that was very intentional. And a lot of that came from more of a desire from our team initially, that they wanted to be able to immerse themselves into projects more and more. And so instead of spreading out and going for breadth, we decided to really go for depth. And so we went deeper and deeper into branding. We went deeper and deeper into digital, as opposed to, all right, now we're going to do advertising, we're going to do PR, we're going to do marketing, we're going to try and be everything to everyone. Where we got the most fulfillment and where we felt like we could affect businesses the most was with really deep creative work that was really well researched and that we could toy with and improve and collaborate on. So I think that is like, we didn't set out and say, all right, we're going to do only high-end projects just because they have big price tags. It was more, I think on one side we had clients that said, hey, I want you to move the needle more. And on the other side, we had our creatives saying, hey, we want to invest in our projects more. And those two really go hand in hand. Typically, the bigger the price tag, the more well-researched, the more well thought out, the better the work's going to be. That's not always the case, but I think with us it is.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. When you guys decided that you were going to start this business, how did you determine who was going to be the CEO and COO?
That was so natural. I mean,
Was it?
Yeah. If anyone has spent more than 5 minutes with us, they can pretty much guess who would be what. I'm just very operational driven. I have a hat that says spreadsheets on it. Like, that's just how my brain thinks. I crave data and logic, and I crave it because it's telling its own story. And so that's my value add to the business is really helping our operations and kind of internal culture and taking care of our people. And Chad naturally rises up as CEO because he's always thinking about the next big thing, always dreaming.
It's starting to sound
to the point-
eerily similar.
Starting
To the point, yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Y'all are adorable.
And for our next husband and wife episode,
I told you, I'm practically his work wife. So
I love it.
I mean,
You're like describing Mike with the spreadsheets, and I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm like, you can like blow those spreadsheets up. You don't have to look at them at point 60 or whatever it is.
Like see every cell.
See like the little he likes to see like every cell on this.
That's awesome.
Like super tiny. I'm like,
I've got a
"You need
hat for you."
magnifying glass. Like what the?
Yeah.
I will say, Allison said anybody who spent more than 5 seconds with us totally gets it. But
He said
anybody
5
who
minutes, but
is
that's okay.
5 minutes, anybody who's probably spent more than like a couple of meetings with us typically goes like, Chad, what are you doing here, buddy? They'd have at some point realizing like, oh, Allison could really run the show without you. So
Not true.
I mean, I give her a lot of respect for the value that she brings to the agency, and I don't know. Parisleaf wouldn't exist if it weren't for her. I know that for a fact. It would just be a bunch of crazy, kooky ideas that would never actually go anywhere.
Have you guys done that Adobe creative test?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you know what you are?
I am I can't remember if it was the visionary or the innovator. I think I'm the visionary. Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm the maker.
The maker. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you do it?
I have not done that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
What are
we're-
you-
I was a visionary.
Visionary?
Yeah.
That's right.
So it's funny because it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and when we were talking about when my team was like, hey, you should do this. And I mean, they all could predict that. They were all like, you're 100%.
What are the
This
other
is what-
options there? So you have visionary, creative?
Maker, innovator.
thinker, innovator.
What was it? Adventurer?
Adventure.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember all of them.
Was there another one?
She's checking.
Producer.
Producer.
Yeah, you're checking.
If you check our Facebook page, you should see like a
Yeah,
list
anyway,
of
it was
possibilities.
super interesting.
It was
and
cool.
It was like,
Yeah.
it was neat. And,
I'll tell you,
and then I'm
something I
like,
was
dang, that
really-
sounds exactly like me. And I'm very much,
Yeah.
we're the same. I mean,
Yeah, y'all
it's-
are very similar.
we paint these pictures, right? And I
Sure.
think that's what like inspires teams, and
Yeah.
and they're like, dude, I want to follow this. I
Yeah.
want to be like right there. And I don't know, but you can't do it without the execution.
Yeah.
The people who are actually like putting the spreadsheets and be like, hey, yo, you need to look at this. You know?
I love what the founder of Patagonia said about the entrepreneur. He said, if you want to understand the entrepreneurial mindset, just look in the prison system, because they're the ones that are breaking all the rules. Unfortunately, there are those that instead of breaking rules, they break laws and they end up in prison. But the entrepreneur, the innovator, the visionary is typically going to be the one that is kind of breaking all the rules. That's looking at something as an obstacle more as a brick wall that you're never going to be able to get through.
Yeah. So talk to me now about some of the culture stuff, because you guys left, what you were doing, because you had this in your mind of like, I want to create a work environment that I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah.
And I know that your team members do as well. I mean, what things did you do early to instill like that, to make sure that was going to happen, right? I mean, and maybe even talk to me about some of the challenges, because
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna.
there's a lot of challenges, right?
Yeah, I was
every
gonna
business owner is going to be like, yeah, that's great and all, but like, tell me the hard shit.
We're only 27 minutes in. Allie's already going to start crying.
Oh, don't cry.
No
just
tears,
kidding.
no tears. No, I was going to speak to kind of like a trial and error type of approach, because your culture has so much to do with the individuals who are on the team, right? And it can shift really dramatically depending on the individuals who kind of come in and out of your doors. So I think if anything, Chad and I have stayed pretty consistent, and our vision for a really collaborative, healthy work environment that lifts one another up and allows people to feel like they're in a safe environment to kind of share their hearts, has always been our vision. And we've just become more and more particular about who we let through those doors. Does that make sense?
Yep,
very much.
So, I think that we take a lot of ownership and responsibility for when the culture has gone sour, because that was our fault from the get-go. We let the wrong people through the doors. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, yeah.
I'll kind of narrow it down like this. This is the evolution of Parisleaf. 1.0, super lovely, not very effective. 2.0, which is like kind of the next evolution of our team, was super effective, but not very lovely. And 3.0 was finally that combination of both. And that took a long time to figure out that was possible. we thought there's no way we're going to be able to get the degree and the caliber of talent that we want, and they're also going to be amazing people to work with. And it's funny, that was the one thing I wanted to talk about today is like, we love our team.
Yeah, our team's amazing.
The people that we work with every single day. I'm so excited to come into work, and it makes such a big difference when you can come in the morning, say good morning, and people are like, morning, they're like, morning, it's like, it is the most, it's like, it's such a breath of fresh air. I think I was having a pretty tough personal time about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago or something like that, and ended up taking a personal day for myself, which is super unusual, but there was just a bunch of crazy personal stuff happening outside of us. And I couldn't wait to come back into the office, and as soon as I walked in, I felt so much better. And I think like that's why we wanted to create that environment, because you spend more time with the people you're working with than you do, unless you're Alice and I, but then you do with your loved ones. So you need to like them a lot. You need to really, really like care deeply about these people. So I remember talking to some really successful people about that were quite a bit more successful than we are really early on. And they're like, yeah, buddy, good luck with that. That ain't going to work. And it's working just fine. And not only that, but I think the people are willing to run through walls for us because they know we're willing to run through walls for them.
All right, but Allison, you said it was a lot of trial and error. I mean, so what processes did you guys put in place to ensure, like now with the next hire, like you're definitely getting it right?
So as part of our hiring process, we have multiple conversations, and I'm asking direct questions, but I'm really trying to read into who the individual is and what they value, as opposed to just like what their answer is. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of exploratory questioning that happens. In addition, we do take a variety of different kind of like personality assessments. We have one called the thinking continuum, which has been really valuable because it's similar to the Adobe kind of test that we were talking about earlier, where it really evaluates kind of on the scale where your comfort zone is, and it's based on kind of how you feel, how you measure risk, along with a couple other things. But Chad's score is really high because risk. He's very quick to kind of make risky moves.
Attaboy.
Similar to you, Collin. And then
go to prison.
And I fall kind of right in the middle, which kind of makes me really good at a high level operations because I can do the detail, but I can also kind of pulse on the culture and things like that. We also do Enneagram testing. So that's been really valuable. That tells us how to understand and have empathy for the individual, and also to understand where they're coming from when they're in a good place and when they're maybe not in a healthy place, and help them kind of redirect and support them to get back to their healthy place. We do Myers-Briggs. We have everyone take love languages because it's really important, especially for Chad and I, when we are in a place of, we're pretty much always in a place of gratitude, but when we're feeling in a place of gratitude towards someone, we want to know how they're going to best receive that gratitude. And then we also have the team meet with the person, because it's not just our decision, it's a team collective decision. And we have a small enough team where we can get away with that. Everyone.
How big is the team now?
We have 9 people total.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's everyone on the team kind of gets to know the individual and make sure that they feel like a good cultural fit. And then, we kind of take it day by day, because you don't really know someone until they're in your door.
Yeah. So how long is that process?
Yeah. The interview process, or once they're in the, okay.
3 years.
I'm starting to wonder. I'm like,
no, it's a range. It depends on the individual, their background, if they've worked in a contractor capacity with us, or whether they're just kind of like a fresh through the door. But I would say on average between 1 to 3 months, depending on the position and all of that. Like we had over, I think, 250 people apply for a creative director position, and it took us about 6 to 8 months, I think, to finalize that process. But that was a really kind of critical hire for us 2.5 years ago.
But do you guys fear that somebody good is going to get, grabbed up, waiting 3 months to...
If
No.
it's if
Not
it's
really.
not
If
it's
they
not
wanna
meant
be
to
with
be,
us.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we want somebody who like sees something really special in Parisleaf, wants to be a part of that, and they're willing to have the patience and fight for it because they see that we're creating something special and unique that most other creative agencies don't have.
Yeah. And I think, we have to make sure that we're making a smart decision for the business. So we always say, we want you to come in and hit the ground running and be queued up with, a lot of work and make sure that you're going to be successful in this position. So sometimes it's like, we're ready, we want to hire you. We just need to make sure we have a stacked pipeline for you. So we're going to send over the paperwork just as soon as we have ensured enough work is on your plate, to set you up for success. So
Interesting.
yeah.
You ever find that the team is like a bigger critic of who gets through the process than what you guys are? Like when you said the team comes in and they like
Yeah.
interview them, they're like, no.
Absolutely.
Yeah, occasionally,
Yeah.
and I lean on them for that. I think sometimes Chad and I, we kind of fall in love with people pretty easily, and we've been hurt by that in the past. So, I think hiring individuals, we have a couple very strong empaths on our team. So I really turn to them to really pick up on energy that maybe I'm missing because I'm kind of blinded by the kind of vision of having this person on our team. So it's really valuable to have that team input.
Have you ever had somebody who was like, where you guys were like 100% yes, and they were like 100% no, and you?
Generally, there's a pretty strong consensus because
Okay.
usually by the time we've met with someone multiple times and, I always kind of trail them through the studio if I can and introduce them to people. And that is part of the interview. People may not realize that, but from the second they pull in the parking lot, I'm watching them.
She's giving away all of our secrets.
That's good.
No. I mean, there's so much you can learn about someone. Even
You guys should write a blog on the on all the little tests that the personality
Yeah.
stuff that you guys do.
That's a great idea.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I mean, I
For
like
sure. Yeah.
Link them
because
in the
I
podcast.
can't write this stuff down fast enough. So
Well,
But
I
I'm
think you
like-
pressed record, right?
Yeah, right.
So
this time I did.
yeah. So you could always
Getting roasted on my own podcast.
Keep the road.
This is what happens.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, have you met that podcast? The guy who never hits record. That's the future.
No one's heard about him. I wonder why.
So if it takes like 1 to 3 months, you said like on average, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you usually hiring out of like vision at that point, or do you ever get to a point where you're hiring on need? And what is that like? 'Cause
Yeah, so that's a great question. So in the past, we've been in a place, and this is a lesson learned over time. We've put ourselves in a position where we were in a place of need and kind of had to make quicker decisions than we would prefer to, and that's kind of bit us. So we've learned over time to actually keep a stacked bench of contractors that are reliable, that don't really desire that full-time employment, but have helped support our services. And in the event, we actually had a really successful hire. Shout out to Kyle, our web developer. He actually was working in a contractor capacity for us for a number of months. And over time, we both kind of realized like, this would be amazing for you to join our team full time.
That's awesome.
So keeping that contractor bench stacked has really been a strategic move for us to allow us to have the time that we need to ensure that we're hiring the right people.
that's
But
awesome.
we're also keeping the hire bench stacked as well. Like
Yes.
we have
Yeah,
those
we have-
people lined
That's
up,
true.
ready to rock and roll, so that when we end up lining up enough work, that we can make that hire. Or if heaven forbid, there's some kind of turnover, then we have that hire lined up and ready. Because as Allison mentioned, we've had those times before where we've rushed into a hire more out of a need, and we didn't actually send them through the process the way we would anybody else. We weren't able to be as critical.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always the fear. I've definitely been in that situation in our business. It's such a roller coaster because of the seasonality with the students and everything. And we
Yeah.
do get into a lot of situations where it's like, August is right around the corner. I've got to hire somebody like now.
Yeah.
And maybe we didn't have the capacity to bring them on sooner. So you are making those quick decisions, and
Sure.
that's hard. I mean, like as you said, like somebody can come in the door. It could take any one person, and they have such a wide effect on the culture.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that gets a little scary, but
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, I listened to a lot of Gary Vee stuff, and he recently had a quote that was, it was like, I mean, because he's we've talked about this before.
All the time,
Hire
yeah.
fast, fire fast. And because he's very much hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. Like that was like a recent quote, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of interesting. He's very, so especially when, I think it's a little bit different because you guys, it sounds like you're very, very intentional about the hires. You know what I mean? Like
you still don't know until they're through your doors, though.
Exactly.
I said that earlier. Like you can do your due diligence, and you can still position yourself where you're putting your culture and your team in a vulnerable position by bringing someone in that wasn't right.
Yeah.
So it is your due diligence as an owner to make sure that you're making those decisions in a timely manner. That's also something that we've learned the hard way. We've sat on our hands and kept someone around too long, and it's had such a negative impact on our culture and even our sales. It's amazing what the culture, when it is in a positive place, how it impacts the types of businesses that you're attracting.
For sure.
And I'm sure the types of clients you're attracting. Versus when your culture is maybe, sorry, I'm hitting the table. I'm not supposed to do that.
She told me to watch. She said, Chad, you do this all the time.
I
And
know.
she's like, bang.
Sorry. Versus when you, I lost my train of thought. When you have a culture that is maybe struggling a little bit, then the impact of that, even on a sales basis, like
Yeah, for sure.
you're not attracting the right type of work because you're not in a good place. So people can kind of sense that, at least in the work that we do. You know?
I think everybody, I would say most companies are probably going to agree that culture is like the lifeblood of the organization. I
Yeah.
mean, you get it wrong. You're feeling it, whether it's in sales or just in camaraderie, like whatever. It's the hiring process is definitely super interesting to me. And I think that's just ultimately going to depend on the type of business. I mean, like this business, like New Scooters Plus definitely gets to a point where it's like, hey, you have a pulse? Great, come in the door. It's like, oh, you know how to work that screwdriver? Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I think it's particularly important in a service-based industry, right? Because our people are our product. You guys actually have like a physical product that you're selling. You're selling scooters, and you're selling maintenance, but you're also selling the people who do it.
Yeah,
so you
very
guys
much.
actually have like kind of a all-in-one package where that's your purple cow, for lack of a better phrase. Like that, you guys are selling an experience, not just you come in, buy a scooter, and walk out. And for us, our people are our services, so it's even more important to have the right people in the right seats on the bus.
Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to doing team interviews next. That way, if the person doesn't work out, gonna be like, well, you guys hired. Like, what's my fault?
And I meant to mention earlier, one thing that we do that's immensely valuable that I advocate anyone bring into their process is one-on-ones. So we meet with all of our teammates pretty consistently. And
How often?
So our creative director actually meets with his production team every other week. And I'm actually starting to do kind of an internal ops one-on-one every 3 to 4 weeks with each individual.
For how long?
Oh, I'm sorry, for an hour.
For an hour?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Gives you a chance to touch base with the person, not only in like a how is work going, but in a how are you doing?
It also gives you a chance to reinforce the values. I think that was something that we haven't really touched on, but in this most recent iteration, we finally defined our culture and said, like, this is what we're all about. This is what we hire for. This is what we fire for. This is what we give raises for. Like, this is who we are as an organization. This is what makes up our DNA. And so during those one-on-ones, it really gives us an opportunity to really reinforce those values and to say, hey, when you did this, that was opposed to our values. Or, hey, when you did this, I was really proud of you because it was really in alignment with our values. I think we need those constant reminders. I mean, I myself can forget our own core values and why we're doing what we're doing. But that is what we do as an agency, is help companies define that. So we need to do it for ourselves really, really well.
Yeah. How many values do you guys have?
5.
5.
I know you have like 15.
I think we added one last night, actually.
That's hysterical.
There's like 12, and then like the team adds all these like secret ones that nobody really knows about.
Yeah. You may want to look at behaviors. This is something that Ritz-Carlton does, is that they have, I think, 40 behaviors That's very similar to the way we treat values.
Yeah.
And it really could all kind of feed up to like these 5 core values, but yeah, after about 5, you start to forget them.
Yeah.
Really, we have 5, and I'm having a hard time remembering them all, let alone your team remembering them all and being able to train for those things. So, yeah.
I guess my
13's
question
a
is,
lot.
like, if you really hire people who fit the values, then do you need to necessarily know what they are? And the reason I'm asking this is because we recently had Kristen on the show.
Yeah.
And we got into, I think they have 10, I think, or they had 10 core values, and she was literally like, and I know that company culture has been something that she's been so in tune with, like this is like the thing. And she was like, Collin, like I literally got on stage and somebody asked me what the core values were and I couldn't remember them. And she was like, I got to like number 7 and I was like, oh, so if you want the rest of them, you got to email me. She was like, I was really embarrassed. And I mean, I was grateful that she shared that on the show because it was obviously a very vulnerable moment. But she was like, yeah, well, we're getting rid of like the values as they're laid out, in terms of, I guess, being super defined. Because she's realized like that their purpose is not, over time, like their purpose is not cleaning homes, right? It's building the next generation of leaders.
But going back to your earlier point of, if we know what our values are and if we're hiring for those values, then do people really need to know what they are? I think absolutely they do, because sometimes we can do something accidentally that's out of alignment with integrity. Sometimes we can blame somebody else when really we should be taking responsibility ourselves, which is 2 of our main core values. Sometimes we can just be settling as opposed to striving for excellence. So even though those things are inherent in us, doesn't mean we always do it perfectly. And sometimes we go through things in our personal lives that really ends up affecting us so that we get out of alignment with one of those values. So yeah, I think it is absolutely essential you keep driving home those values, like this is what we stand for as a company. And if that's not in alignment with you anymore and you've outgrown that, that's fine. We wish you the best of luck.
Yeah.
And we really do. And we'll help you find the next few opportunities, whatever it is. But if you're going to be here, this is what we stand for as an organization.
Yeah, which is kind of what I think has happened with a lot of what Kristen was doing it's just been almost like an evolution.
Yeah.
It's not the values haven't necessarily changed. The values are still there and in place. There's just been an evolution. And it's, I don't know, it's interesting.
So what are your 13 core values?
I can tell you the fastest way to
I know the 12.
Where's the sign?
the fastest way to forget them is be on camera or on stage.
Yeah.
I have that problem all the
Agreed.
time.
Agreed. Yeah. No, and I think values also gives you an opportunity to, it's like a kind of like a foundation for celebration, right? So when someone really rises up and it kind of shows an example of excellence or responsibility or candor, it's an opportunity to really celebrate them in that moment. And reinforce the desire for those types of actions around the office,
Yeah.
Yep.
So
It's interesting because I've seen how those values even bleed off into other organizations or or even my family. Like I posted something yesterday, or I shared a post from the Veterans Entrepreneurship Program at UF. And I was just like, it was great to go in and speak. I went and spoke last week to that group and was like, hey, it was a real honor to go in there. And my mom had saw it and she had even messaged me. She goes, serving that core value, which one of our core values is serving a higher purpose, and she had pointed that out. And I was like, dang, mom knows core values. I'm like, okay. So it was, it's cool to see how it impacts those around us through just, by having them defined, I think.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I mean, I think about one of our clients, one of their core values is straight talk and basically some version of candor. And that really inspired me to realize, like, you know what, we are pretty passive around here. That was kind of 2.0 for Parisleaf. And so that's where the inspiration for me, at least, came for candor. But for us, it's candor led with love. That you need to be truthful, but not aggressive, not offensive. By all means, be honest. Let's talk about what's going on. You need to make sure you spend some time really thinking about it. So yeah, I absolutely think other people's values can be super inspiring. I mean, I think about the ultimate customer experience all the time.
Yeah. that, and it's funny because out of all 12 core values that we have, or 16, or however many, I mean, that's been the number one. That's been the thing that has really defined the culture, was that number one core value of creating and recreating that ultimate customer experience.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. On to challenges of working with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know you guys get this little high five. Hey, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
I mean, Alison.
Yeah.
Chad, just move, just back off.
man.
Alison, tell us the truth.
Aw.
Okay, I mean, I know you guys have an incredible relationship, but let's say, I mean, do you get sick and tired of each other? I mean, you see each other all the time.
That's a
Like,
fair
you work
question.
with each other.
Yeah.
You
it's
go
a fair
home with each
question.
other. You're literally with each other the whole time.
One
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah.
Do you get tired of each other?
I can honestly say from the bottom of my heart, I never get tired of my husband. And you're right, we spend a lot of time
That's it for today's show, everybody.
together.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I was going to go into why that is. I think that especially knowing our personalities, knowing our strengths, right? We are so complementary to the point where we really don't even step on each other's toes that often. I work downstairs in the studio. Chad works upstairs in his office. We used to share a car, which was fun, but we have our own vehicles now, and so there is while we are side by side running this business together, there is kind of this inherent separation of skills and responsibilities and duties, and it's nice when we're able to spend time working on the business instead of in the business. But when we're in the business, we're kind of, independent in a lot of ways. We communicate all the time, to make sure that we're making decisions that are healthy for the business. We have one-on-ones weekly to check in on kind of financials and sales and all of that.
But then nightly, we do our pillow talks. That's when we do the real board meetings.
Yeah. I mean, is it hard to really turn it off when you get home?
Yeah,
Or
that's
you
a
guys
great
are
question.
always-
Yeah, that's a great
That's a
question.
good question.
That probably
I am
is
a great interviewer. John.
I was going to say the last question, not so much.
No, I think the last question was really valuable because when you think about a couple who decides to spend their life together and then they also decide to run a business together, that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of time together. That's a lot of work. I mean, it takes, it takes a lot of strength and energy and patience, which I think he and I both are pretty equipped in those areas. I think we're both high energy people. We have a lot of patience, and we're both pretty dedicated and work really hard.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
wonder if that is related to the fact that you guys are so complementary.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if you're both visionaries.
Oh,
if
there's
you
no
guys
way.
would be tripping over
We
each
are
other all the time.
so
There's no way.
different, Collin. I mean,
Yeah, there's no way.
I think that is the only reason why we're able to work together
Yeah.
as well as we do. I think it starts with division of labor. Right out of the gate, for some reason, when we were on that walk around the village center and we were deciding to start this thing, right out of the gate, we were like, all right, you're going to do this and I'm going to do that. And we just immediately drew a line and said, all right, here's your sandbox and here's my sandbox. If we decided to be co-CEOs and co-visionaries together, it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. We're so different, and that's why it works so well. And our roles are so different, even though it's a small company. And yeah, we work in the same office. And yes, we meet together, we make decisions about the team and the company all the time together. We really don't spend that much time working side by side. So I think that's a major reason why it also works so well, is we still very much have our independence.
Yeah, and we have a lot of respect for what one another does,
Absolutely.
right? So it's not like I'm watching Chad make decisions or, go after clients. I'm like, no, don't do that. There's never that fear of him not doing something the way that I would want him to do, because I 100% respect the fact that he's got that on lock and he knows what he's doing, and I would be horrible in that position, right? I would never be the one out doing sales ever.
Yeah.
And he would never be loving spreadsheets as much as I do. Right? Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
back to pillow
Oh, yeah.
talk now.
Okay. Yes.
So,
separation.
You guys get home. What time do you guys normally get home?
We leave.
Pretty normal office hours.
Yeah. We leave the office right around 5:30, sometimes 6. And then generally,
We do some version
we go
of a
to
recap.
we go to Orange Theory and have a good workout. Nice 12-point burn. Get some
Or
splat
Body
points.
by Boris.
What? No, we don't do Body by Boris. We
I
do
know,
Orange
but I
Theory.
wanted to mention that here because they're sponsoring my podcast.
Right.
Oh, that's hysterical.
plug.
Sorry,
I'm
B3 Gym. B3 Gym.
Yeah. Anyway, so generally, we have some sort of like transition from work into home life, which is really valuable because I do think that kind of separates it. But work comes up all the time in conversation. We have standing date night Wednesday nights. And generally we will start the evening kind of in some sort of conversation related to work. And then at some point, one of us takes the responsibility to say, hey, let's just like connect with one another. And that's really our opportunity to like reconnect back in with one another outside of kind of the business life. We also travel a lot, and that is our way of disconnecting. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of like family related travel lately, so we really haven't had that like one-on-one time. So I think we're really overdue for that. But that's an immensely important part of our self-care, is making sure that we're getting that time together outside of our like normal day-to-day routine, because that pulls us out of the day-to-day frenzy of running a business together.
So no challenges, perfect working
No,
life.
No, I didn't say that.
Perfect.
And
You guys
maybe,
right here, if
Maybe I should-
they're now going to start couples counseling for
Oh my gosh.
people who own businesses together.
We thought about it. No, I wouldn't say that there are no challenges by any means. I mean, they come up. I'm a pain in the ass. I know I'm a pain in the ass. And Allison has to wrangle me in all the time. Allison loves sticking to a plan.
Mm-hmm.
She is she is a true blue-blooded ops person. Like when she has a plan, she is sticking to it. I mean, come hell or high water. And that was, like early on, that was one of our biggest challenges, because we start off as a printing company and all of a sudden I want to do web design, and what about the plan? And next thing you know, it's like, all right, fine, we'll try it and see what happens. And like evolve. Now you have what Parisleaf is today. And so, we definitely go toe-to-toe on certain things, but at the end of the day, we always give a high five and remind each other, like, same team. Sometimes we do need to step away, and we absolutely do fight over things. We absolutely do raise our voices and get pissy and whatever it is, but one of us always goes, okay, let's kind of step away, let's take a moment, let's come back and figure out what's really going on. And most of the time, it comes down to the fact that I've just drank too much coffee or I haven't gotten enough sleep, and it's really just me
true.
being pissy. But no, like there's even a lesson in that, is like that responsibility component of going, you know what, no, I'm sorry. And being the first to say I'm sorry, like there's so much power in that.
That's very powerful.
Yeah. So, no, we absolutely do fight. And it's funny because the team is even totally comfortable with it, because they know at the core of our marriage, at the core of our partnership is so much love that it doesn't really bother them. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes
Let's
my
invite the entire
assistant-
team in here.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it kind of goes back to me. It sounds like, circling back to kind of the core values and core values being defined. I mean, even hearing that, I think to our core value, embrace and shape change. For there's definitely, like, that value is so important in our environment, because I am so visionary. Like, I literally will walk in anytime and be like, okay, yep, new plan. Like, we're doing this, and we're doing this now, and we're doing this 5 minutes ago. Like, let's ready, set, go.
Well,
and I'll just throw new things out and be like, we're doing it. Like, I've already decided we're going.
And I will say, that's where it really comes in. Like, Allie and I are 50-50 partners. We are 50% equity, 50% equity. And not that we ever need to pull that card, but like that is the mindset that we have as well. So I have these crazy ideas, but I know that I have that counterbalance of Allison. Occasionally Allison has crazy ideas, and she has that counterbalance of me. Sometimes we switch sandboxes too, but we're very rarely like, I have this crazy idea, and Allison right out of the gate's like, I love your crazy idea, let's do it, I'm not going to come in like a terror and say, all right, we're changing everything. She'll go, my ass, we're changing everything. Like, we need to stay focused.
Yeah.
Is it pretty seamless though? I mean, do you find that like you have to not be like husband and wife hats whenever you're at the workplace, or not have CEO, COO hats when you're at home, or are you just the same people all the time?
I truly believe we're the same people. And I hope that our team feels like they can be the same people. Earlier Chad was saying, I don't think it bothers anyone when we have like a tiff in the office, and I'm sure it gets uncomfortable, but from my perspective, I'm like, we're hopefully modeling healthy communication for others, right? When things get tough, when you kind of are up against the wall and feeling like you're not seeing eye to eye, because at the end, like, we always resolve. We always get to a place where we're same team, and
yeah, they're also seeing us apologize to each other.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to have those conversations, and I would argue sometimes it's appropriate to have them in a group setting so people can see that, also see that we're not perfect. Like, and I feel like, maybe I haven't done a good job of acknowledging that, yes, it is tough. And even hearing Chad talk about, I have all these big ideas. Something that I've really had to work on over the years is not immediately knee-jerking into my like logistics ops mind and trying to figure out, like, just automatically seeing how that wouldn't work, right? Because I immediately start going to all the different players and all the different things, all the different processes that would be required to execute whatever the vision is. And sometimes a visionary just needs to dream, right? And giving him a place where he can dream and feel safe to dream will allow greater and more valuable dreams, right?
Chad, do you ever like just figure it out? I feel like as me, I'm like
that is 100%.
I'm like, I don't care.
That's what
I don't care. Go figure it out. We're doing it.
My lesson, man, is I don't come in anymore and go, all right, guys, we're changing everything. Because we haven't had a chance to really talk it out, talk out the optics.
That's what this podcast is teaching me, is that I'm a terrible human being.
You need to be a better work husband.
Meanwhile, I feel like a saint because I put up with it. So this is great for me. Yeah.
Well, I think it comes down to communication too. I mean, we probably over communicate, and I would advocate that is the healthy level of communication, is to over communicate, to talk things out to a point where you're understanding where the other person's coming from and have empathy and compassion for their viewpoint on life. Also giving you an opportunity to share your heart and what's going on for you, so that way you guys can kind of come to a middle ground and come to a solution together. So that's kind of how we approach those types of scenarios where, the vision is really strong and the ops kind of, understanding of the pathway to get there is very strong and very concerned. Right. It's like, okay, well, let me open, the hood and kind of show you what that means, right? And understanding kind of the impact of some of those decisions is valuable. So,
okay, so another quick question.
Yes.
You guys, you talked about working on the business and in the business, right? So, so obviously there are times where you're still working in the business, okay? Now, if you decide to take a trip together, this is something that I don't want to harp on it too much, but I kind of dislike about even in our own environment here, like our service manager and sales manager are married. So if they go to lunch, they go to lunch together. If they go on vacation, they go on vacation together. Like, you're not losing one team member who's going on vacation. You're losing two.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes that puts strain on, like, Brad and Hannah, and like, don't worry about it. They're gonna listen to this back. But like, I think there's some challenge to that.
Yeah.
The owners, both of them, who obviously work in the business, sometimes need a break, need to take a vacation. How does that affect the rest of the team? Does it affect the rest of the team? What can companies like ours do in order to prepare for the times when two people are leaving together to go on a trip?
I think that it really comes down to good training. And lifting other people up and really empowering them to be decision makers. I've found that when we go out of town, the team is typically more productive, and our sales really increase. So basically, I've found that we have become.
So you're the problem. You basically define that you're the problem within your business.
No, but we are.
I'm just messing with you.
I can be a distraction. No, you're right. To some degree, I am the problem. I know I can be a distraction, but at the same time, if I'm around, I'm a representative of like what's happening with business development, and so I'm pushing the team on these are the things that I need, or I need to pull you into these meetings. So naturally, we're going to be less efficient. But sometimes, like, the team really needs that break to put their head down and be able to crank. So there have been times, I would say a majority in recent years have been like that. And then more recently, I think there was a harder one that, we got a chance to get back, get settled, and figure out what went wrong. And now we're looking at fixing it, because we have to be able to get away, and the team needs to be able to feel confident and empowered to be able to operate without us.
Yeah, the team needs us to go on vacation. I mean, they do. And part of that is just what I was talking about earlier, where like our level of connectedness and communication and kind of shared understanding, our buckets get refilled, right? Like our low buckets. So it's immensely important. And it's also important that our team takes time. That being said, I don't want to not acknowledge the fact that it does have a substantial impact on the business. Every time we come back in town, I have at least one, if not a handful of people say, wow, we really missed your energy. Because I would argue probably Chad's more than mine, because he is such a dynamic force in the office. And when that energy is gone, unless you have someone who is a similar type of personality that can fill that void, it's much quieter around the office when Chad isn't around,
It's a combination of both of us. Allie's pretty dynamic as well.
My gosh.
I mean, she comes in and just lights up the room just by smiling. So some of it is energy. The other, I think for both of it is energy. And it does make a difference. And I would say that if we have one or two teammates that are gone for a week, a similar amount of vacation, like it is more quiet then as well, and the energy just changes and maybe gets a little bit lower. So I don't think it's just us.
Yeah, but I also acknowledge that anytime someone takes time off, more often than not, they return kind of fulfilled, rejuvenated, right? Yeah. And so I really advocate for, like, if, we had our creative director I think it was like a month or two ago. I noticed he hadn't taken any time off in like 4 months. And I was like, dude, like, take some time off. Like, let's plan this together. I really want you to go do some self-care, because it's incredibly important. And I would argue if you're not taking at least one hitting the table again. If you're not at least taking one day to regenerate and rejuvenate per quarter, your return at work is going to be depleted, right? So you really have to advocate for that for yourself. So.
Good stuff. Mike, you got anything else?
That's a lot of process.
Cool. I wanted to finish off talking about Gainesville just a little bit.
Yeah.
Love to.
Because
love this city.
yeah, I mean, we did that Josh Greenberg project.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
thank you for being a part of it.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for your work, man.
I remember sitting down with you and I got goosebumps when I asked, what's the one thing that we can do to ensure Josh Greenberg's legacy? And you had said, stay. And, I'm constantly intrigued by, one, how much Gainesville has grown, right? It's come a long way in my 19 years of being here.
Yeah.
But I still feel like it has a lot to do in order to meet its full potential, right? Like, what do you feel like it needs in order to reach its full potential, and what can we do to help it?
I think one of the most transformational things that I've seen in recent years is a place for community to come together that is really cool, and that's Depot Park. And I think we need more of that. I think we need more creativity, and we need more togetherness. I think the people in this community is what makes Gainesville Gainesville. And so, more restaurants, more of an arts and culture scene, more music venues, Heartwood sound stages. I mean, it's so amazing, and so I think that, the more of those opportunities that we have, when I look at other cities that I admire, what I admire most about them is that they have those cool moments. And I think we just need more of those cool moments. So I think when people stay, they influence the city to create more of those cool moments, and they themselves create more of those cool moments.
Yeah, I think also sharing the story of Gainesville. there's a huge opportunity there that, telling the stories of our city and what's going on present day, right? To attract more type of people that would contribute to that type of environment that we're trying to build here. I think our city is incredibly neighborly, and we don't talk about that. Like, we don't position ourselves as this like immensely friendly, supportive, loving, kind environment. I think all of us feel it. Like, it's just like that energy of Gainesville, but there's nothing telling that story in a really powerful way to entice others to be attracted to the city. And I think part of that attraction will lead to inherently some, economic development, which it's kind of a cold phrase to talk about, like growth, right? And positive growth for the to help all of us feel more fulfilled in this city. And we've really struggled. We've been here over 10 years now, and I think about the 10 years, and I think about the rounds of friends that we've lost along the way.
Right.
We've had these like sweeps of friend groups that all eventually kind of disperse, and it's become less frequent over time. And I'm really inspired by that and encouraged by that, because I do think that the city has been working to help people stay. But I think we need to talk even more and more strongly and tell the stories to help encourage people to stay and to come. And maybe when they come, they'll stay.
Yeah.
So.
This has been awesome, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
It's like, I
You did record this time, right?
I did record.
I still see some red on the screen, so it's good.
Yeah.
It's still moving. The little ticker's still moving.
I feel like you need like a big red light up here to indicate like
one of those record
recording.
signs.
Yeah.
We talked
On
actually
air.
about it, like on there. Like, that'd be funny.
Love that.
It's I don't know. One, it's awesome because I don't get to see you guys as much as I'd like. We're
Agreed.
very, very busy business owners, leading teams, running companies, and you guys are doing incredible things within the community. kind of going back to Depot and the Cade area, and you guys did all the branding for Cade, right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful work. And I was in there.
It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I got to go in it for the first time. I hadn't gone in it yet. I went in it for the first time to judge a little pitch competition. I'm just like, dang, this is incredible.
Our team
this
did an
is-
amazing job on that work.
Team crushed it.
It was awesome. But I don't know. I'm grateful that you guys are here and part of this community and for everything that you're doing. I love you both.
Yeah,
Love you.
too, man.
Yeah, thank you
It's good
both for
spending
having
time
us.
with you.
The second
Yes.
time,
I love you too much.
Oh, thank you. The second time I actually met you guys was at the Purpose 20 Awards. That was the second
was a long
time.
time ago.
I do want to tell a quick story about the first time I met Chad.
Oh man.
This is gonna be awesome. I feel like we probably should have started the show.
It's like one of those
Yes.
moments everybody
Yes.
gets too drunk
Buckle
and
up.
busts out the butt naked stories
Oh
of
no.
Chad.
We're hyping it up a lot. I hope it meets it. So the year was 2013 in the year of our Lord.
The year was 2013.
and I was a meager driver for New Scooters for Less at the time, and I had gone to take my lunch break at RIP Tempo Bistro to go,
Oh, R.I.P.
and I was just sitting there eating my sandwich, and I get a text message from Collin, and I'm like, oh God, what's going on? What did I do? Did I get the truck towed again or something? And it's literally a picture of me eating my sandwich at Tempo, and I'm like,
Oh, that's hysterical.
the hell? And I'm looking around, and I think Chad had seen that I had my SRL driver shirt on.
Yeah.
And so he was just trolling me. He's like sending,
I was sending him the
sending you
play-by-play. Just dropped mayo on his shirt.
That's
Needs new shirt.
amazing.
So I got back to the office and I'm
Getting
like,
refilled.
what was going on? And then I found out, and you actually had a meeting with him a half hour later, and I was like, it was you. So that was the first time. I
Sounds
met
about
you.
right.
Yeah.
Sounds about
Is he
right.
getting you in trouble for something, or is it
No,
just
no,
like, you're
I-
just like,
yeah.
literally,
Big Brother
anytime
is
you see
always
an
watching.
SRL, you're
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
You never realize.
It's a connection to Mike through the brand.
I've gotten
connection
plenty of
to you.
selfies of Chad with scooters.
Oh,
and
yeah.
his
True story. You never
logos.
know how visible you are.
Yeah.
And as a driver, I think that's always my lesson when we have new drivers is like, hey, someone's watching. You're GPSing a route to your next pickup. Someone thinks you're texting on the phone. We've gotten calls where someone has said, hey, just want to let you know your driver's texting. It's like,
Yeah.
I know he's probably trying to find his next thing, but people are always out there watching, especially when you're eating sandwiches on lunch break. And
Well, it's the power of a brand too, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Lesson learned. Stop eating sandwiches.
In public.
Well, cool. Everybody, Gainesville, whatever. Thank you so
you.
much for listening. Definitely check them out. Where can they find you guys? Website, social?
Parisleaf.com.
Parisleaf.com, at Parisleaf, at Team Parisleaf on Instagram.
Parisleaf_team on,
Parisleaf
oh man,
on Facebook.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it just goes on.
Lots of
Boom.
handles,
Yeah.
but we're the only Parisleaf in the entire world. So all you have to do is Google Parisleaf. There's
You'll
no
find it.
competition other than leaves that fall, like occasionally fall in Paris.
There you go. I hope
Yep.
that Google SEO is working for you. You either get Paris leaf or leaves falling off trees in Paris.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Sometimes Paris Hilton.
Awesome. Guys, thanks
Thank
again
you.
so much.
Yeah, thanks for having
Gainesville
us.
World, thanks for listening. It's the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make it go, whoa.
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 We'll see you later. Bye. Ow.